man fucked the Bible up.
You don't have any information.
Back to the point.
You have no information.
The white man ain't never messed this Bible up. You understand? He did not. And that's the whole point of this conversation.
I disagree with that.
He tried to turn around and say, oh, this came from Europeans. This book came from black Europeans. King James was a black man. First and first mostly.
From England?
You understand? We ruled England. We ruled England. We ruled Germany. We ruled the Eastern European Empire for over 1,000 years. Now I'll help you with the history, and I'll bring it all the way to the front. Pay attention. You're going to learn something. Now, this is what you don't know because they don't teach us our history. In 193 AD, 2 black generals overthrew the Roman Empire, Servius Septimus and Placidius Niger.
Hey, Shalom Israel. This is ISUPK, Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started out of 1 West Harlem, New York, 125th Street, under Commanding General Yohana. Here to teach all so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the truth according to the Bible, to bring back your history, your identity, and to get you to serve the Lord. We got a nice history class today, and I wanted to show this video because Captain Kataza is an excellent student when it comes to learning and researching the Bible. So when he brings out a point, I'm not even sure how long ago this was, but when he brought out a point, we're going to use that point, and then we're going to talk about the whitewashing of the Bible and the biblical figures that's in the Bible. That's what the history class is about. It's important to know why the history was changed because of the effects today. Just one thing before we play a little bit more of the video, and then we're going to go through a couple books that we have. Of course, the Bible being the main record to bring this history class together. But we're going to talk about King James. We're going to talk about who the world calls Jesus Christ, who is Yahweh Shai in the Bible. We're going to talk about Moses, and then we're going to pull up the figures and how they talk about each person and why the whitewashing was so important and your history and identity was so important. So let me run this back, and I'm going to show you that in the ISUPK, we are correct in what we say. So let me bring this back for you one time so you can actually hear the point. And we're going to talk about one of those rulers as we bring it up. So this is the ISUPK Cincinnati history class under Commanding General Yohana. Check this out.
Help you with the history, and I'll bring it all the way to the front. Pay attention. You're going to learn something. Now, this is what you don't know because they don't teach us our history. In 193 AD, 2 black generals overthrew the Roman Empire, Servius Septimus and Placidius Niger.
Servius Septimus, that's the first person we're going to go to. And I want to give you actually what they give the representation of. So I'm going to drop this screen. And then I'm going to add a screen so that you can see. There it was. And once again, if you're just checking this out, this is a history class, biblical history class about your identity, the biblical representations of them. So now we'll go to the screen that we have up. This is called Tales of the Forgotten, making the distant past relevant to the present day. Now, this was about, I want to make sure I have this right, Septimius Severus, or Severus Septimius, a black Roman emperor. Remember what Captain Kataza just said. You can always go research, and I'll just read some of it. It has been widely claimed on the internet that the Roman emperor Septimius Severus ruled from 193 to 211 AD, was a black man. For instance, then they have a another article that was published. describes Septimius as the first Black African-born emperor of Rome. So what we want to talk about in point is the Dark Ages. Can you imagine your history being so important that they erase it? Because if you learned it, you look at figures to inspire you and to give you strength. So now, if they take away your figures of strength, if they take away your leaders, and now they give you leaders of other nationalities, what does that do for you? It makes you want to join them and be part of them. So the whole point of this gentleman is on the street trying to argue with Captain Katazar about things he doesn't know or didn't even research. Right now, you walk up to a so-called Hispanic or Latino and you tell them, hey man, you're an Israelite. It means nothing to them. It means nothing to them. It has to have some type of effect because your identity is everything. The history class is so in large a part about records that was once written that gives us not only the strength, but it gives us a point to look up to. You know why they built up Martin Luther King? Just a side note. They built Martin Luther King up so that you could look at him as an idol. And then you take that idol and say, what was Martin Luther King about? I want to be about it. Now that he's about loving everybody, you love everybody. So now we're reading about, I want to play it again. Two generals that took over that no one knew, and they were so-called Black. Two Black generals overthrew the Roman Empire. Servius Septimus, that's just the one we're going to talk about today. I'll read that part again. It said, this book that was published, this blog that was published, describes Septimius Severus as the first Black African-born emperor of Rome and declared that it is important for Black people today to remember and to celebrate the Severan dynasty he founded. Now look at the picture above and look at how they painted him. Or look at the sculpture. We get thrown off because we see that sculpture and we say, oh man, this guy doesn't look nothing like me. For those on TikTok, they're giving this man makes no sense. Okay, what am I not being clear on when I'm speaking about history in the Dark Ages? That's a question for you. I'll wait. Usually the people who are trolling or who have something, it's always when the truth comes out, it's always somebody that just wants a little bit of clout, a little bit of shine. Maybe you should tell me about the Dark Ages because I'm speaking on the Dark Ages. I'll also speak about how they whitewashed Moses, they whitewashed Jesus Christ, they whitewashed King James. But you know, maybe trolling is a good thing for you, buddy. But I think this history would be important. Ruled Europe from 183 to 211 AD as a Black man. Let me scroll down just to get a little bit more. No response as figured. Another journal. This information is being published. Even this one, Rediscovering the Lost Roman Caesar, Septimius Severus, the African and Eurocentric Historiography, that was published in 2010. This shows that even those racial terms, and I'll get to a very, very important word in those Dark Ages that people don't learn to acknowledge because they wouldn't have an identity or a description of somebody if I didn't tell you. So we'll use a word. I'm going to use it now. If you on TikTok, tell me what swarthy means. SWARTHY. Swarthy. Most don't know what that name means, but that word, I'm sorry, not name, that word was given to a lot of our people in the dark ages, especially our rulers. Give me a second. All right, so let's start knocking down these books. I'm gonna play a little bit more, and then I'm gonna pick up on some of the things that Captain Katazai said. So let me put that back on the screen, just so people can catch it on Facebook and YouTube.
And Presidius Niger. There's that word again. Niger, meaning black. These were two.
We know that one. If you don't know, Acts 13 and 1, the prophets and teachers were called Niger. If you look that up, that's Niger. That is meaning black. If you play it, it'll sound like just how we say the N word today. So even the biblical times, that was one reference. I'm gonna bring out some other scriptures when we go through these books. We got a couple books to go through today. Boom, boom. Because your history is important. History is so important. They make it a major when you go to college. They make it an important structure of when you even go to high school. When they give you history class in high school, you know how much you get? You get a slither of history in high school that has only something to do with the Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. That's what you get. You get all of the other great leaders and accomplished people who won wars. Why don't you tell me another word for the hexagram? I know what you want to pull up, but you should go ahead and say it. Or maybe you believe the hexagram is something else. If you put a 1 in the chat, so I know that you're still there, I'll acknowledge that that question. Just put a 1. All right, maybe you moved on. All right, James, I'm going to take that question as meaning maybe you are a genuine. So, what's another word if you're talking biblically? Um, is a hexagram. This isn't part of my class. When they say, there we go, I think that's probably what we wanted to say. I treat every question as if it's genuine in hopes to get people to understand. When you're talking about the Bible and you're talking about a hexagram, people refer that to a star. They refer that to the star of Remphan and Molech. I'm glad that you used hexagram. Let me make sure this is paused, just because I'm streaming on different platforms. So when it comes to a hexagram, people believe, let's just use a different word. Let's use star. There we go. Chiam. Molech, Remphan, and Chiam. They believe that this is a representation because when they read star in the Bible, the first thing that comes to your mind is because it's 2026. Behind me, you would say, man, that guy's got a star behind him. Just to kind of free your mind, James, who is the star of Christianity? I'll wait till you put an answer in there. James, who is the star of Christianity? If you're still there, I'm only gonna rock with you with this breakdown if you put some responses. Who is the star of Christianity? You said you don't know, so I'll give you. Oh man, here's a good one. Who is the star? I'll make it more simpler. Of Marvel, No, I say morning star. I'll give it to you, man, for time's sake, because I got a lot to go through. The star of Christianity would be white Jesus. Now, the star of Christianity being white Jesus, we know Jesus is a figure. He's not an actual star or a hexagram, is he? But we see this behind me and we say, man, that guy's got the star of Remfram, the star of Chiam. Do you know Remfram is a I think it's a man with a cow head or something and the body of um with a human body or something like that. He got like a cow head, bull's head, something like that. So he is the star of Molech. Now I'll tell you what it means biblically. Matter of fact, let me just go read the Bible for you. So I'll just read the Bible. Thank you for asking the question, though. It's a very common question. According to the Bible, this is not a star. I'm going to tell you what a star is according to the Bible. Remember, according to the Bible, this is a star because when you see a star in the sky, this is the third. I gave you one, the star of Christianity was Jesus Christ. That's a figure. The star in the sky, when you look in the sky, you don't see a star like a hexagram. But the Bible's smarter than all of us. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13 and verse 2. But deemed either fire or wind or the swift air or the circle of the stars. According to the Bible, according to science, a star is a circle in a ball of gas. So when you look in the sky, this is the second thing. You don't see a star because a star in the sky is a ball of gas. So now we have a star as a figure, which would be Jesus Christ. A white Christ would be the star of Christianity. Secondly, we have a star in the sky, which the Bible says is a circle, which science says is a circle because it's just a ball of gas in the atmosphere. Here's the third one. This figure behind me is called the Magun Dawadah. It is the shield of David. David in Hebrew, this is the Dawadah. So it would be like an insigniate, meaning a stamp. So let's say you had a ring, you would stamp envelopes, you would stamp other things for the king's representation. Let me pull it up. We're going to go to Esther 8 and 8. I don't know why my phone runs slow. All right, this is Esther 8 and verse 8. Write ye also for the Jews, as it liketh you in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name and sealed with the king's ring may no man reverse. That is the third thing. So when you see star, don't believe that it's actual star, because this figure behind me is Hebrew. Let me see if I don't have no, I might have something written in here. I usually have it at my desk, but you can look it up. In Hebrew, these are the letters of King David. It says, no star David come out of Babylon. Can you rewrite it, please? And once again, it's not a star. This is a insigniate of the king's name. So when you see a star, here's a question. Is that the star of Molech? Can't be, because the star of Molech, isn't it? I know you want to go to Acts. I think it's Acts 7. Let's go ahead and get it. I'll spend a few more, maybe another minute on it. And if you believe that a hexagram, 7:43. Yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Molech. What is the tabernacle of Molech? Put for a single star. Ash constellation. Natural. I don't know what you wrote right there. Once again, I'll ask again, what is a tabernacle of Molech? And when it says the star of your God, so what is the star of your God? If you understand that, then you'll know that Remfram is the star, not a literal hexagram. But you know what I mean? All I want to ask is when it says, and the star of your God, Remfram, it says the star of your God. So what is Remfram? And is Remfram the star, meaning not a hexagram? But I gave you the breakdown. Marlon, I hold a show on Sunday. You're more than welcome to come. And now it's Baal. Once again, who is first two questions? What is the tabernacle of Molech? And the star of your God. It didn't say the star is your God. It says the star of your God. I gave you the example with white Jesus, Caesar Borgia, being the star of Christianity, to help you understand when it says the star of your God, Remfram, in Acts 7:43. And I'm going to continue on with the history class.
Black generals who were inside of the Roman military, much like black men can.
I didn't say J. I said Dawada. You got to try a little bit better. But if you do want to have a conversation outside of the class, Marlon, you're more than welcome. Sunday at 5 o'clock. Same TikTok channel. You can have all of your vast biblical knowledge, because I know you are a superstar. I don't want to say superstar, because if I say star, you might get it, Well, I'm actually about to pull it out. Thank you for jumping the gun on that. King James was biblically described as a black man. But I'm going to get into that. Thank you for tuning in. I got about another hour, 30 minutes. I gave enough time for the people with that question. So thank everybody else for tuning in. Let's go on with the class.
Become generals in America's military. They fought and overthrew the Roman Empire, and they became the first black emperors.
The first black emperors were these two generals that were spoken of. I want to leave that right there, because I'm actually going to continue to teach my class on the things that Captain Kadazar brought up in his speaking. But these were the two first so-called black men with armies to take over Europe. This was the Dark Ages. What people don't like, mostly don't know about, we had a we've had a big, I want to use the right word for TikTok. We were very influential across the world. When it said that we were scattered to the four corners of the earth, that is very, very important. We ruled in lands that most people won't acknowledge. So let me first get into this first book I want to bring up. It says the truth that you would you didn't learn in the Bible. I want to say the truth I never learned in the Christian church, to be exact. This is chapter 2. It says, let me pull this down. This is chapter 2. Speaking of King James, who we're going to speak about. It is important that we speak about King James because many times a doctrine is established. Listen up, Jamal. If you, Marlon, you're still there. I called him Jamal. One example of hearsay is King James wrote the Bible, which is not true. King James did not write the Bible. This chapter will add to your biblical foundation and will, without a doubt, prove to you King James did not write the Bible. First, they believed that King James was a Caucasian man and that what he did was changed and made this whole New Testament thing. And, they want to discredit Paul. But I'm reading the knowledge, right? I'm reading the book right here. We're just going to get into it. The image above shown is a popular image of King James, who many believe wrote the Bible. Now, let me show you how they whitewashed King James. And then I'm going to show you the most accurate depiction of King James. I don't want to add that to the stage. Remove. Depictions of King James. I apologize. People on TikTok, you can't really see it, but I'll show you. This is one depiction of. Oh, no, that ain't gonna work. Damn. Nah, I can't get it. There we go. That's one depiction of King James, as if Israelites don't come in all skin colors. We are not a skin color organization. We are, who your father is. The image shown above is a popular image of King James, who many believe wrote the Bible. All throughout modern history, and King James and all the English rulership have been portrayed as white people. I just brought up the history of one black general who in part took over with another black general, took over a whole area, and he ruled. Let's again. That Phineas, two black generals overthrew the Roman Empire, who they cannot whitewash, and they also will not. I will not allow it to be done to whitewash King James. The truth is, so-called black people ruled what is now known as the United Kingdom and other European countries during this period. Historians refer to it as the Dark Ages. Why do we not get the information of the Dark Ages? It's because you gather your strength. You learn of all the great people before you, not just somebody who invented peanut butter or the stoplight. We'll get some great black people who invented these things, but guess what is lacking of those people? They're not being identified as Israelites. We're identifying Israelites, not just saying, "Oh, those are brown, those are black, those are fair-skinned people." That doesn't come with a belief in a God. But this does, when you talk about the history of the people who ruled it, and to know that they were Israelites. If I had one more, I'm not sure how many people can see it, but I'll bring this up on the screen. Now, this is a whitewashed, let me pull that up. See if I can make it larger. Perfect. This is a whitewashed image. Oh, I didn't pull it up big on there. Maybe. That is a whitewashed image I don't want to run out of time. Let me see if I can pull this down. Pull this one back up. Bear with me, y'all, on these images. Boom. This is an image of King James, which is severely whitewashed. King James was a black man who descended from a long line of black rulers. James Charles Stuart was born on June 19th at Edinburgh Castle in Scotland. We hear, oh man, Scotland, Rome, Europe. We think that we wasn't over there. In those dark ages, those are the times we ruled. The name Stuart comes from the Norse word swart. Swart, guess what? Means dark, dark colored, dark skinned. I'll read it again because when they show us this, they fail to read. Make sure that's up on the screen right. They fail to read this. I'll read it again. The name Stuart comes from the Norse word swart. Swart means dark, dark colored, dark skinned. The Negro rulers of Scotland and the British Isles. His official title was King James because he was the sixth to rule Scotland and the first to rule all of Scotland, England, Wales, Ireland, and France. This was a terrible whitewashing of King James. This would make you not want to follow the Bible. You see this and you would say, man, I'm turned off from that book. That book ain't do nothing but destroy us. You know, the first, you hear stuff like, well, the first name of the slave ship was Jesus. One of the first important things you can get people to separate is don't give them nothing to hold on to that makes them believe in each other. You tear away their history. Now they looking like, man, everything else is fake. Everything else is poison. I for sure wouldn't read a book written by this man. I wouldn't. I hope it made it stupid big on the screen. I definitely wouldn't read no book about a religion, a belief, a way of life, if it came from somebody that looked like this. This is when you give somebody colorism, this is the deterrent right here. You want to tell somebody to take the medicine and the medicine came from him? This is how you destroy a people. But we got to put this on the screen so that you can see it. And then you see this and you say, all right, until the real comes out. The real comes out. And then the real will look like this. The real look like that. And you say, man, that look like my uncle. Listen, that look like my old best friend, Robert. His name is Robert. If you ever seen this, that's what Robert looked like. And Robert lived around the corner from me, and he was just a light-skinned brother. This image that I have on the screen, the image shown above is a more accurate representation of what King James looked like. Whitewashing was a common practice during the time of the Dark Ages and is still perpetuated today. Below is an image from a book named Russian Icons. Let me fast forward. You see a white artist repainting images of black people, which was commonplace during this era. The portrayal of King James was no different. No different. This is the correct image. I don't know how I can get it to come. There we go. That's the correct image. The most accurate image is of this man right here, King James. Just a light-skinned brother. Let me check. We'll see what this is. Man, no. Come on, man. Go back down. There we go. Images. Listen, this is a Caucasian man repainting, whitewashing biblical figures. I'm trying to get it to show. Oh man, can't see it. Whitewashing biblical figures. That means when new rulers came back, the new rulers say, all right, we got to get rid of all this history of greatness. It's no different than when you lose a war. You want to erase the history of the people that came and conquered. And then when you take over, now you give them the new history of all your greatness. I want to read one more definition, and then I want to go into this one. I want to read swarthy. From this, I want to take the swarthy definition. I'll also pull it up so that you can see it. I'll take the one of King James down, and I'm going to put this up on the screen so nobody can say I'm making it up myself. Check this out.
Swarthy.
Swarthy. I know most people never heard that. This was what was used to describe a few books up here, man. Just hit me in the inbox. But this one is King James Verified. Excellent book. The Truth I Never Learned About the Christian Church. That one might not be on sale online. It may be. And then, of course, man, you got Babylon and Timbuktu. You can get this book. But the most important book, I got to get some more books, too. All of this we're referencing off of the Bible. I mean, I turned it the wrong way. But all of this we're referencing off the Bible. All you got to do is get the history in the Bible and then just check your historical records. All right, let's see. I wonder if I can get them to read this, but I'll read it. Swarthy. Smaller. Dark skinned. Similar. Dark. Dark colored. Dark skinned. Pronounced. Spoken.
Swarthy.
Swarthy. So we're going to read just a few pages, and then I'm going to end it with, of course, the Bible verses. Swarthy. I am absolutely of the school of thought that King James is a black man from a long line of stewards who were black nobility. There will be a time where we historically visit the lore of the Dark Ages. In the meantime, understand this. When it comes down to what we digest, history does record instances where rulers, conquerors, and later institutions reshaped imagery, portraits, and narratives to reflect prevailing power structures. Cultural memory has often been curated by those who controlled the press, the pulpits, and paintbrushes. That's talking about, let me give you a modern day term to it. When you see the only news reported on the news channels is those of the black and brown community, that's of the people who control the narrative. We can't allow the people who control the narrative to turn us away from the truth of the Bible, the truth of the men that wrote it, the truth of the men that, broke it down, the scribes, and who they were. They were Israelites. The Lord put us in this position with these books. It says, seek ye out of, let me go ahead and get it. I think it's in the front. This is Isaiah 34:16. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it had commanded, and his spirit it had gathered them. We always have references with the Bible being the number one source. And in the secondary, you go to history. You find, and you got to dig deep, because when somebody wants something erased, they're going to hide it. They're going to hide it, and then they're going to tell you something different when you go to ask about it. There are more people who recognize white Jesus than they would any other figure. There is not a figure that you recognize more than your oppressor. Tell me that I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. When you in America, your biggest references, your biggest facial references are from your oppressor. And then off of your facial recognition, you say, he did something great. There's always something either great, 9 times out of 10 is great. 10% of the time you can add like, oh man, that was foul, that was wrong. But every time you think of someone, I know what Abraham Lincoln looked like because I was force-fed Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, white Jesus. I was force-fed them, white Moses. You absolutely right, J-Dub. You absolutely right. Guess what comes with those references that are forced on you of greatness? Like, if you think about it, while I bring these scriptures up, when you think about it, the depictions of what you're being taught, there was a gentleman or whoever it was who just tried to argue with me about the Star of Molech and Remphan. Do you know he never once said the star of the United States? Meaning there are 50 stars on the banner of America. The stripes, the red, white, and blue. He never said, well, those are the stars of Molech and Remphan. Like, we using the things that are forced on us, and we don't know how to understand them. And then we go to Google. Man, it could be. That's a big word. Iconoclasm. I'm probably saying it. Iconoclasm. I could be saying it wrong. Man, why not just Google it? I got you, J-Dub. Icono. Hey man, you could have taught me a new word today. What came up was iconoclasm. I said it right. The action of attacking or assertively rejecting cherished beliefs and institutions or established values and practices. Well, this one says rejecting. So maybe we need to learn some iconoclasm. We need to learn that because we being force fed these images, these faces, these skin colors, these ideas. And guess what we're doing? We taking in exactly what they are. So when you love the star of Christianity, which is white Jesus, guess what else you're going to love? You're going to love everything else that white Jesus loves. When you see Santa, matter of fact, when they play the dark music and show you on TV a black guy walking down the street with his hoodie, that's what everybody becomes afraid of. The black guy with the hoodie, the kid who just had Skittles in his bag. George Zimmerman thought he was, a superstar. He thought he was doing something right for the community. In his racism and oppression, That's because the figure of a young black man with a hoodie on and a ski mask has now been perpetrated for us to be in fear of those people. But you know who we really should be in fear of? Of the oppressor with a tie on and some khakis and some hard bottom shoes. We should be afraid of the oppressor when he doesn't get that sale at the grocery store. When the sale is over, you're one day late and you scan it and he goes off. We should be afraid of him because he's coming back to get some justice because he didn't get that $1.19 sale. We got the images. Images are, but that's what you see as a kid. You see the image and you fall in love with the image. Now we're going to talk about, with the little bit of time I have left, we're going to talk about the depiction of Moses. All of them, of course, Christ is one of the most widely. Matter of fact, let's pull up Christ real quick. Man, look at this face. This is the face to save everybody. It's so many of them to pick from. There we go. There we go. Got to pull that one up. This face is the face we've been taught. The patient cry. Here we go. Let's see. There we go. Listen, this face. Tell me I'm lying. Listen, this face of white Christ. That's the face of, you know what I'm saying? I'm falling out of a tree and you'll catch me. Like, this is safety. This is to America. And what we've been taught, this is like the pillow of comfort. We have been taught that the oppressor is our comfort. That's why we're going out on boats with people who are not our own people. That's why we're getting drunk in a room and the oppressor teenage girls are jumping on us doing wrestling moves, talking about how you're going to hide our body because we let our guard down over the images that we've been taught that are so soft and careful. And I'm going to tell you this one. When you get a good deal from a black person, you question it. But you get a good deal, what you feel like, man, this white guy gonna sell me this car, man. Hey, you tell your wife, man, he gonna knock $1,000 off. Man, he really treat me good, man. He's the guy, man. Zachary just gave me a good deal on my car, and you bought a lemon. You believe because he was dressed up in a certain way. He had the skin color for the protection. I forgot how y'all say it. The reflection for the protection. We thought that. We thought that everything good comes from these people, and then everything bad comes from our own people. This is one of the most anonymous things that we've been fed. And I'm telling you, everybody knows this one. Black on black crime. Thank you. Complexion or the protection. We see it play out as we speak. I see it play out in YouTube videos where the oppressor, I'm gonna get to the scripture. I'm gonna go one more minute with my rant. We got YouTube videos where the oppressor opens his door and says, "What are you stopping me for? I know my rights." A black man opens his door, and that's probably the end of his life. We see it. Like, we see it. And we see this image, and this image is like, everything's going to be okay now. Oh, man. White Jesus is here. Superman is here. You know what I mean? Cross your hands and fold your hands, and now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. This the face of a man who's not real. Like, this is imagery. This is imagery, and I want to read it. I'm gonna pull up the correct depiction. Let me get him off of there. let me see. I'm gonna get a good. That might. I don't really like that, but matter of fact, damn Christmas. Man, they make them corny. But we'll put a black guy up there, and then I'll read it. Yeah, some matter of fact, I'm gonna just read it. That's all right. That one's all right. You know, sometimes they'll give you some images that just look too much LGBTQ because, and that one's not even correct enough. But let me go ahead and read it. This is Revelations chapter 1, verse. Let's start at 13. Yeah, I am J-Dub. I was YouTube, Facebook. I apologize. Once I get this whole thing set up the way I want it, I think it's a way that you can stream all of them at one time. But I'm not too familiar with that yet. So I do on different platforms, one on my computer and so forth. But this is Revelation 1 and 13. And we know that this is a correct depiction. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just let your brain do it. This is Revelations 1 and 13. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. Let's do this. Excuse me. Let me see if I can find one from. Nah, can't find it on there. All right, y'all, just bear with me. I'm gonna try to pull up one from our page. For time's sake, I ain't gonna be able to do it. But let me finish the scripture. I won't be able to pull it up. With a golden girdle, his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. All throughout the Bible, it's color. Songs of Solomon 1 and 5. I am black but comely. Comely meaning beautiful. Don't let the images that are pushed upon you today deter you from finding out your history. We went over several books. We're going to go over more in this history class. Can you imagine that from Abraham, Isaac to Jacob, we have history since Jacob? We have that much history. Now imagine you're going to have to go and find it. You're going to have to uncover it. You're going to have to disprove some of the things like the Bering Strait with the Taino Indians. I did a class on that. We're going to have to find it. But most importantly, in a history class, you should be following the laws, statutes, and commandments given to you by the Lord. Knowing your history, knowing that Christ was a black man so dark that he burned in the furnace, means nothing if you don't take in all of the laws, all of the statutes, all of the commandments, so that we could be blessed as a people. We want to fix our community. More importantly, we want to change the minds and the hearts of our own. That's what every class is about. This history class is now so somebody can see it and say, hey, you know, son, I found out we was Israelites. I found out that King James was not a white man, that we're black, we're royalty. You know, I don't want to use the term kings, but we were chosen by the Lord. That's our history. Our history is not going to be defined by our oppressor who tells us to worship the flag, to bow down to the flag, to serve him, to join his army, when we are supposed to be in one army, serve one king. That's Christ. Christ is our king. The Lord is our God. And those are the things we're supposed to follow. And this history class is just a small tidbit. Research more history for yourself. It's everywhere. And know that whitewashing is one of the biggest things to ever hit the market to deter you from serving your God. With that, this is the ISUPK Monday history class. Shalom, Israel.